Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the world of homemade fertilizers that will supercharge your plants. Let's get started. It's a wonderful thing, to take what many consider waste and transform it into something truly beneficial for our gardens. There's a certain satisfaction in creating these nourishing concoctions, knowing you're feeding your plants with wholesome natural ingredients, free from harsh chemicals. It's about understanding the needs of your plants and responding with care and precision, much like preparing a fine meal. Throughout my years of gardening, I've learned that the secret to a vibrant, flourishing garden often lies in the quality of the soil and the nutrients we provide. Commercial fertilizers certainly have their place, but there's an unparalleled elegance and effectiveness in using homemade preparations. These DIY fertilizers are not only economical, but also environmentally sound, allowing us to close the loop in our own backyards. Today, we'll explore several tried and true methods, each with its unique benefits, ensuring your plants receive the very best. We'll delve into the specifics of creating nutrient-rich compost tea, the calcium power of eggshells, the potassium boost from banana peels, the soil-enhancing properties of coffee grounds, and the magnesium magic of Epsom salts. Each of these methods is simple, yet profoundly effective. I'll guide you through the processes step by step, sharing my personal tips and insights to help you achieve beautiful results. So gather your notebooks, and let's embark on this journey to cultivate healthier, happier plants together. It's a good thing. Compost tea. Now this is truly a gardener's delight. It's a liquid concentrate teeming with beneficial microorganisms and soluble nutrients that provides an almost immediate boost to your plants. Think of it as a probiotic tonic for your garden, enhancing soil health and, consequently, plant vigor. The process of brewing compost tea is quite straightforward, but attention to detail, as always, yields the best results. We're essentially extracting the goodness from well-aged compost into a liquid form. First, you'll need high-quality mature compost. This is paramount. The compost should be rich, dark and earthy smelling, free of any unpleasant odors, which would indicate it's not fully decomposed. The quality of your tea is directly proportional to the quality of your compost. If you have your own compost heap, that's ideal, as you know exactly what has gone into it. Ensure it's well aerated and has a good balance of green and brown materials. Next, you'll require a container for brewing. A 5-gallon bucket is perfectly suitable for most home garden needs. It should be clean, of course. You'll also need a permeable bag, something like a burlap sack, an old pillowcase, or even a pair of nylon stockings. This will act as our tea bag, holding the compost while allowing the nutrients and microbes to infuse into the water. This prevents a sludgy mess and makes application much easier. Now, for the brewing process itself, fill your bucket about 3/4 full with dechlorinated water. This is an important step. Chlorine can harm the beneficial microorganisms we're trying to cultivate. To dechlorinate tap water, simply let it sit out in an open container for at least 24 hours, allowing the chlorine to dissipate naturally. Alternatively, you can use rainwater, which is naturally free of chlorine and often preferred. Place about 2 to 4 cups of your mature compost into the permeable bag. Tie the tops securely, ensuring there's enough room for the water to circulate around the compost. Submerge this tea bag into the bucket of dechlorinated water. Some people like to attach a string to the bag and suspend it in the water, much like a giant tea bag, which can aid in aeration if you're not using an aerator. For optimal results, especially for creating an actively aerated compost tea, you'll want to introduce oxygen. An aquarium pump with an air stone is an excellent tool for this. Place the air stone at the bottom of the bucket. The continuous flow of bubbles will keep the water oxygenated, which encourages the proliferation of aerobic, oxygen-loving beneficial microorganisms and discourages the growth of anaerobic ones, which can be harmful. Let the mixture brew for 24 to 48 hours, depending on the ambient temperature. Warmer temperatures will speed up the brewing process. You should see some gentle bubbling if you're aerating, and the water will gradually darken to a rich tea-like color. Avoid brewing for too long, as the microbial populations can start to decline or shift towards less desirable types if conditions aren't maintained. Once brewed, the compost tea should have a pleasant, earthy aroma. If it smells foul or sour, something has gone amiss, likely insufficient aeration, and it's best not to use it on your plants. Discard it and start again, paying closer attention to the aeration and compost quality. A good brew smells sweet and alive, a testament to the thriving microbial life within. To use your freshly brewed compost tea, dilute it with water. A common ratio is 1 part tea to 4 or even 10 parts water, depending on its concentration. A lighter tea color indicates a need for less dilution. It's always better to err on the side of more dilution if you're unsure, especially for seedlings or sensitive plants. Test on a small area first if you have concerns. Apply the diluted compost tea as a soil drench, pouring it directly onto the soil around the base of your plants. This delivers nutrients and beneficial microbes straight to the root zone. It can also be used as a foliar spray, applied to the leaves of your plants. When used as a foliar spray, it can help protect against certain fungal diseases and provide nutrients directly through the leaf surface. Use it within a few hours of brewing for maximum microbial activity. Remember, compost tea is a living product. Its benefits are most potent when it's fresh. Regular applications, perhaps every 2 to 4 weeks during the growing season, can make a remarkable difference in the health and productivity of your garden. It's a simple yet profound way to nurture your plants from the ground up, fostering a resilient and vibrant ecosystem. Eggshells, a common kitchen byproduct, are a surprisingly valuable resource for the discerning gardener. They are primarily composed of calcium carbonate, a crucial nutrient for plant health, particularly for strengthening cell walls and promoting robust growth. Many gardeners, myself included, have found them to be an excellent slow-release source of calcium, which can help prevent issues like blossom end rot in tomatoes and peppers. The preparation of eggshells for garden use is wonderfully simple. First, it's good practice to rinse the shells after cracking your eggs. This removes any remaining egg white, which could attract pests or cause unpleasant odors as it decomposes. A quick rinse under running water is all that's needed. Then, allow the shells to dry completely. You can air dry them on a windowsill or in a dish for a few days. Once thoroughly dry, the eggshells need to be crushed. The finer you can crush them, the faster they will break down in the soil and release their calcium. You can crush them by hand, placing them in a sturdy bag and rolling over them with a rolling pin, or for a very fine powder, a coffee grinder or food processor works exceptionally well. Be sure to use a grinder dedicated to this purpose, or clean it meticulously afterwards. Some gardeners prefer to bake the eggshells in an oven at a low temperature, say 200 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 20 to 30 minutes before crushing. This not only ensures they are completely dry, but also sterilizes them, eliminating any potential pathogens like Salmonella, though the risk is generally low. Baking also makes them more brittle and easier to crush into a fine powder, which I find quite beneficial. The finely ground eggshell powder can then be incorporated directly into your garden soil. When preparing a new planting bed or amending soil in existing pots, sprinkle the powder evenly and mix it into the top few inches of soil. The calcium will be gradually released as the shell particles decompose, providing a long-term benefit to your plants. It's a gentle amendment, so it's difficult to overdo it. Another excellent use for crushed eggshells is in your compost pile. Adding them to your compost enriches the final product with calcium. The composting process will help break them down further, making the calcium more readily available to plants when you use the finished compost. They also add a bit of aeration to the pile, which is always a good thing for decomposition. For plants that are particularly prone to calcium deficiency, such as tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants, you can add a small handful of crushed eggshells directly into the planting hole when transplanting seedlings. This provides a localized calcium source right where the roots will develop, helping to prevent common issues like blossom end rot, which is often linked to a lack of calcium uptake. A word of caution: while eggshells are beneficial, they do raise the soil pH slightly over time due to their alkaline nature. For acid-loving plants like blueberries, azaleas or rhododendrons, it's best to use eggshells sparingly or avoid them altogether in the soil directly around these plants. Always be mindful of the specific pH preferences of your plants. A soil test can be very informative here. Beyond their calcium content, some gardeners believe that the sharp edges of coarsely crushed eggshells can act as a deterrent for soft-bodied pests like slugs and snails. While the scientific evidence for this is somewhat debated, creating a barrier of crushed shells around vulnerable plants is a harmless traditional method worth trying. At the very least, they will eventually break down and add calcium. You can also create a calcium-rich water infusion. Steep crushed eggshells in water for several days, or even boil them for about 10 to 15 minutes and let the water cool. Strain the liquid and use it to water your plants. This method provides a more immediate, though less concentrated source of calcium. It's a good way to give a quick boost. Storing your prepared eggshells is easy. Keep the dried, crushed shells in an airtight container until you're ready to use them. This prevents them from absorbing moisture or odors. It's a simple habit to get into, collecting, rinsing, drying and crushing, turning everyday kitchen waste into a valuable garden amendment. It's efficient, economical and very satisfying. Chapter 3. The Potassium Punch Banana Peel Fertilizer. Banana peels are another kitchen scrap that holds remarkable benefits for our gardens, particularly as a rich source of potassium. Potassium is a vital macronutrient for plants, playing a key role in overall vigor, flower and fruit development, disease resistance, and water regulation. And who doesn't have banana peels readily available? It's a wonderfully accessible resource. I recall one particular spring when my prize-winning roses seemed a bit lackluster. Their blooms weren't as vibrant and the growth was somewhat stunted. I'd heard about the benefits of banana peels and decided to incorporate them into my rose care regimen more deliberately. I began collecting the peels, chopping them up and burying them shallowly around the base of my rose bushes. The transformation over the next few weeks was quite noticeable. The foliage became a deeper, healthier green and new growth appeared more robust. When the roses finally bloomed, the colors were richer, more intense than they had been in previous years, and the flowers themselves seemed larger and more abundant. It was a simple change, yet the results spoke volumes about the power of this humble fruit peel. There are several effective ways to utilize banana peels as fertilizer. One of the easiest methods is to simply chop the peels into small pieces, about 1-inch squares or smaller. The smaller the pieces, the faster they will decompose and release their nutrients into the soil. You can then bury these pieces 1 inch or 2 deep in the soil around your plants. Be sure to bury them rather than leaving them on the surface, as exposed peels can attract fruit flies, rodents, or other unwanted visitors. Burying them also helps the decomposition process and ensures the nutrients are delivered closer to the plant's root system. This method is particularly good for established plants like roses, shrubs, or fruiting vegetables. Another popular technique is to dry the banana peels. You can lay them out in the sun on a dry day or use a low oven setting around 150 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 65 to 82 degrees Celsius until they are brittle and dry. Dehydrators also work wonderfully for this. Once completely dry, the peels can be ground into a powder using a blender or coffee grinder. This powder can then be sprinkled around plants or mixed into potting soil. This banana peel powder is a concentrated source of potassium and other trace minerals. Because it's in a powdered form, it breaks down relatively quickly, making the nutrients available to plants sooner than whole or chopped peels. I often add a tablespoon or 2 of this powder to the soil when planting new seedlings, especially for potassium-loving plants like tomatoes, peppers, and of course roses. You can also create a banana peel tea, much like the compost tea we discussed earlier, though simpler. Place a few fresh or dried banana peels in a jar, cover them with water, and let them steep for several days, perhaps up to a week. The water will become infused with nutrients. Some people prefer to agitate the jar daily. After steeping, remove the peels. They can be composted or buried, and dilute the resulting liquid with fresh water, typically at a ratio of 1 part banana water to 4 or 5 parts plain water. This nutrient-rich liquid can then be used to water your plants, providing an easily absorbed dose of potassium and other beneficial minerals. It's a gentle feed, suitable for regular use. It's important to remember that banana peels are primarily a source of potassium. While they do contain smaller amounts of phosphorus, magnesium, and calcium, they are not a complete fertilizer. Therefore, they work best as a supplement to a balanced fertilizing program rather than a sole source of nutrition for your plants. Consider them a specialized booster. My success with the roses truly solidified my appreciation for banana peel fertilizer. It wasn't just the improved blooms. The plants themselves seemed more resilient to common rose afflictions like black spot. Potassium is known to strengthen a plant's ability to withstand stress and disease, and I believe this was a contributing factor to their enhanced health. It's a perfect example of how simple natural inputs can yield remarkable results in the garden. Chapter 4. The Soil Conditioner Coffee Grounds Fertilizer. Used coffee grounds, a daily byproduct for many of us, are a fantastic amendment for the garden, offering more than just a caffeine kick to our mornings. They are rich in nitrogen, a key component for lush, leafy growth, and also contain phosphorus, potassium, and various micronutrients. Furthermore, they can improve soil structure, aeration, and water retention, making them a valuable addition. Scientifically speaking, the nitrogen in coffee grounds is released slowly as they decompose, providing a sustained feed for your plants rather than a sudden jolt. Studies have shown that as organic matter like coffee grounds breaks down, it helps to create a more friable soil texture, which is beneficial for root growth and drainage. This slow release is particularly good because it minimizes the risk of burning plants, a concern with some synthetic nitrogen fertilizers. One common misconception is that coffee grounds are highly acidic. While fresh unbrewed coffee grounds are indeed acidic, used coffee grounds are typically close to pH neutral, often ranging from 6.5 to 6.8. This is because the brewing process leaches out much of the acidity. Therefore, they are generally safe to use around most plants without drastically altering soil pH, though it's always good to monitor if you're using very large quantities. There are several ways to incorporate coffee grounds into your garden. Perhaps the simplest is to sprinkle them thinly on the soil surface around your plants and gently rake them in. Avoid applying a thick layer, as this can sometimes cake and create a barrier that prevents water and air from reaching the soil. A light dusting is all that's needed for direct application. Coffee grounds are also an excellent addition to your compost pile. They are considered a green material in composting, meaning they are rich in nitrogen. They help to balance the carbon-rich brown materials, like dried leaves or cardboard, and can speed up the decomposition process. Earthworms are also particularly fond of coffee grounds, so adding them to your worm bin or compost pile can encourage these beneficial creatures. Research from institutions like Oregon State University Extension Service supports the use of coffee grounds as a soil amendment, highlighting their nitrogen content and ability to improve soil tilth. They note that while the nitrogen isn't immediately available in large quantities, its gradual release contributes to long-term soil fertility. This slow, steady supply is often more beneficial for sustainable plant health. For plants that thrive in slightly more acidic conditions, such as blueberries, azaleas, and hydrangeas for blue blooms, coffee grounds can be a particularly welcome addition. While used grounds are near neutral, any residual acidity can be beneficial for these specific plants. However, for most plants, the near-neutral pH of used grounds is perfectly suitable. You can also create a liquid fertilizer from coffee grounds, similar to the banana peel tea. Steep about a cup of used coffee grounds in a gallon or two of water for a few days. Strain the liquid and use it to water your plants. This coffee tea provides a mild dose of nutrients and can be applied every few weeks during the growing season. It's important not to overdo it with coffee grounds, especially with seedlings or very young plants. While beneficial in moderation, excessive amounts of any single amendment can potentially cause imbalances. The key, as with most gardening practices, is moderation and observation. Watch how your plants respond and adjust your methods accordingly. Some studies have also explored the potential of coffee grounds to suppress certain fungal pathogens and deter some pests. While not a definitive pest control solution, the texture and compounds in coffee grounds may create a less hospitable environment for unwanted garden visitors like slugs and snails, similar to eggshells, though results can vary. Ultimately, incorporating coffee grounds into your gardening routine is an excellent way to recycle a common household waste product and enrich your soil naturally. Their contribution to soil structure, nutrient content, and microbial activity makes them a valuable asset for any gardener seeking to cultivate a healthy and productive garden. It's a sustainable practice that benefits both your plants and the environment. Chapter 5. The Magnesium Boost Epsom Salt Fertilizer. Epsom salt, which is not actually a salt but a naturally occurring mineral compound of magnesium sulfate, can be a wonderful supplement for specific plants in your garden. Magnesium is a critical component of chlorophyll, the molecule responsible for photosynthesis, so an adequate supply is essential for vibrant green leaves and overall plant energy production. Sulfur, the other component, aids in enzyme activation and protein synthesis. The primary benefit of using Epsom salt is to correct magnesium deficiencies in plants. Symptoms of magnesium deficiency often include yellowing leaves, particularly between the veins, a condition known as interveinal chlorosis, especially on older, lower leaves. Plants like tomatoes, peppers, roses, and even houseplants can sometimes exhibit these signs if magnesium is lacking in the soil. One of the best ways to use Epsom salt is as a soil drench. Dissolve 1 to 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt in a gallon of water. Use this solution to water your plants at their base, allowing it to soak down to the root zone. This application is particularly effective when you first notice signs of potential magnesium deficiency or as a preventative measure for magnesium-hungry plants. For a quicker uptake, especially if deficiency symptoms are apparent, Epsom salt can be applied as a foliar spray. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt in a gallon of water and spray it directly onto the plant's leaves. Plants can absorb magnesium through their foliage, providing a more immediate boost. It's best to spray in the early morning or late evening to avoid leaf scorch from direct sun on wet leaves. When transplanting seedlings, especially tomatoes and peppers, adding a small amount of Epsom salt to the planting hole can give them a good start. Sprinkle about a tablespoon of Epsom salt into the hole before placing the plant. This provides a readily available source of magnesium as the young roots establish themselves, potentially leading to stronger, more productive plants. It's crucial, however, to understand that Epsom salt is not a complete fertilizer. It only provides magnesium and sulfur. Overuse can lead to imbalances with other essential nutrients, particularly calcium, as magnesium and calcium compete for uptake by plant roots. Therefore, it should be used judiciously and ideally only when there's a demonstrated need or for plants known to benefit from extra magnesium. A soil test is always the best way to determine if your soil is deficient in magnesium before applying Epsom salt broadly. If your soil already has adequate or high levels of magnesium, adding more can be counterproductive and potentially harm your plants or disrupt the soil's nutrient balance. Precision in gardening often starts with understanding your soil. For roses, many enthusiasts swear by Epsom salt for promoting more vigorous cane growth and more abundant, vibrant blooms. An application of the soil drench, 1 tablespoon per gallon of water per foot of plant height, around the base of rose bushes in early spring, and perhaps again after the first flush of blooms, is a common recommendation. Houseplants, too, can sometimes benefit from a little Epsom salt, especially if they've been in the same potting mix for a long time, as magnesium can become depleted. A diluted solution, half a teaspoon per gallon of water, applied once a month during the growing season, can help keep their foliage green and healthy. But again, observe your plants for signs of need. One important tip for achieving the best results is to ensure the Epsom salt is fully dissolved in the water before application, whether as a soil drench or a foliar spray. Undissolved crystals can be too concentrated and potentially burn plant roots or leaves. Stir or shake the mixture well until all the granules have disappeared. Remember, Epsom salt is a specific tool for a specific purpose. It's not a cure-all, but when used correctly and for the right reasons, it can be a valuable aid in addressing magnesium deficiencies and promoting healthier, more productive plants. Like any good ingredient, it's about knowing when and how to use it for the best effect in your garden. And there you have it. 5 wonderful homemade fertilizers to nourish your garden and supercharge your plants. From the microbial richness of compost tea to the calcium strength of eggshells, the potassium punch of banana peels, the soil conditioning power of coffee grounds, and the targeted magnesium boost from Epsom salt, you now have a versatile toolkit to enhance your gardening endeavors. Each of these methods embraces the principle of using readily available resources to create something truly beneficial, fostering a deeper connection with the natural cycles of growth and nourishment. I encourage you to experiment with these techniques, observe how your plants respond, and find what works best in your unique garden environment. Remember, gardening is a journey of learning and discovery, and the satisfaction of seeing your plants thrive through your own careful ministrations is immensely rewarding. These natural approaches not only benefit your plants, but also contribute to a healthier ecosystem in your backyard, reducing waste and reliance on synthetic inputs. It truly is a good thing to nurture your garden in this thoughtful, sustainable way. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more gardening tips and tricks. Happy planting! We hope you feel inspired to try these DIY fertilizers and witness the remarkable difference they can make. Until next time, may your gardens be bountiful and your harvests plentiful.